Hello, my name's Jade and today I'm going to be going over my most anticipated releases and the books that I want to read in 2022, as well as other just like reading goals type things. There's a hair in my mouth. I do want to apologize about my voice. It's kind of on the fritz. I've been wanting to film this video for a while, but this has been going on, and so we're just gonna film it today and hope that you can hear me okay. Mic is also not working and I've still not figured out what is wrong with it. The audio quality isn't very good. I apologize for that as well. Being that this is books that I'm anticipated for in 2022, I'm filming this on February 15th. It's a little late, but better late than never. And like these releases are still coming out this year. I still have like plans for my reading this year. So let's talk about them anyway. We'll start with anticipated releases. The first of which is House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J Maas, which is out now because I'm filming it on February 15th and it comes out February 15th. I really enjoyed House of Earth and Blood. I thought it was a really strong book and it opened up so much potential for what could happen in the rest of the series. So I'm super looking forward to reading this one. I listened to a teeny tiny little bit of prologue while getting ready, and so I'm like 12 pages in. I'm listening to the audiobook. I've listened to the audiobook. All of Sarah J Maas's books. Any of them that are narrated by Elizabeth Evans, in fact, I highly recommend. I mean, Akatar is fine as well, but like, Elizabeth Evans is amazing. But I feel like most people are really looking forward to this release, so I don't know what else there is to say. I just have been thinking about the world a lot, and because the first book was so long, it was 800 pages, it feels like we know our characters probably better than we do. Not that we know them better than we do know them, but like we've only had one book's worth of growth and it feels like more. So I'm really excited to see how this series plays out, and I'm really excited to see what exactly happens in this one. I have no idea. I've not read the synopsis or anything. I'm just presuming more stuff with the rebellion because of the little quotes we've gotten so far. Next on the list is Until the End by Derek Landy, which is the 6th book in the new phase of the Skulduggery Pleasant series, and it's actually the last book in this phase of the Skulduggery Pleasant series. It comes out, I always want to say it's April 12th, but I feel like that's wrong. I think it's April 14th. You will know if I'm right or not. I pre-ordered that baby as soon as I could pre-order the Waterstones edition because I have Dead or Alive in the Waterstones edition and I wanted it. You know, if I can get colored pages, why would I not get the colored pages? Psh. He's not said if this is going to be the actual last book in the Skulduggery Pleasant series as a whole though. To my knowledge, which, if we go back to the first series, obviously when he finished the first series, we didn't know there was going to be a second series, a follow-up series, but he never explicitly stated that there wouldn't be, that this was definitely the end. Apparently, like I watched an interview with him, he was very coy about it. He was very careful to never explicitly say, like, this is definitely the end. And he's been, from what I've seen of him talking about it, he's been a little bit like that with this one as well. Like the fact that before he said he was very careful not to say it's definitely the end. If it was definitely the end, I feel like he'd be saying it's definitely the end. But he's not. I don't know if it's just one of those that he doesn't want to close it off for himself, the possibility in the future, if he has plans or not. I don't know. So far this year, I've read up to Bedlam, which is the 3rd book in that series. Something happened in that one that I'm wondering if we'll have time to see that come to fruition within this series. If not, does that mean we'll see it in a future series? Because it's a big thing. People are going to want to see it. So is that what happened there? Is that what gonna be what the next series is about? Maybe. I definitely think there's potential for spin-offs with side characters. It's such a flush world. I definitely don't think we have to stay with our main characters like we did this time. I definitely think we can deviate and look at different things. Fingers crossed this isn't actually the end. But obviously I'm very excited for the finale to this series nonetheless. I guess like sticking with the theme of books and series that I'm looking forward to come sequels, that's what the word we're looking for. Staying within the realm of sequels, the series I've already read coming out. The 2nd book in the Wolf Den trilogy. I believe it's going to be a trilogy by Elodie Harper. I absolutely loved the Wolf Den, and since finishing it, I cannot stop thinking about it. The House with the Golden Door, it's not as easy to remember as the Wolf Den, and I'm already thinking like, what is this house? And how relevant is this house? Hello, Baba. Don't think the cover is as pretty as the first one. It's definitely the similar style, but It has a slightly different feel to it. I don't know. I just know that since finishing The Wolf Den, I haven't been able to stop thinking about it and wondering where it's going to go next. Like, it wasn't left on a cliffhanger, but there's definitely unresolved stuff. And I'm really excited to see what happens with it. So I'm very much looking forward to this one. Also within this vein is a new Bridget Kemmerer book, and this is in the world of the Cursebreakers trilogy. A Vow So Bold and Deadly. Isn't that the third book? Yup. A Curse So Dark and Lowly, A Heart So Fierce and Broken, A Vow So Bold and Deadly. I marathoned this trilogy last November, and I had a fun time. I enjoyed them. And since then, I read Defy the Night, and I did not like that one as much. Spoilers for future wrap up. Yeah, so now I'm a little bit like, I don't know what I want to do. There's a new book coming out within the Cursebreakers world, Forging Silver into Stars. The cover is beautiful. Actually, it's one of those rare occasions where I think the UK one is maybe just as beautiful as the US, if not prettier. It takes place in Sly Hollow. I always want to say Sly Hollow, and I don't think that's what it's called. I think it's like Sly Shallow? Yeah, Sly Shallow. Rich and royalty are around, following the kid from A Heart So Fierce and Broken, you know? Ray's friend, the kid. Couldn't tell you his name, but I don't think we're following him, but I think he's around even more. He's like someone important now. I think we're following like two friends. The premise sounded interesting, and if nothing else, I'm intrigued to see what happens within this world. I don't know if this is going to be a new series or if it's just going to be a standalone. Either way, I'm definitely interested in reading it. Also, I guess within the vein of books in a series, or this isn't in a series, I had no idea that this was coming out until I think it was in a Jesse the Reader video. He mentioned it, and I was like, what? New E. Lockhart book, and I really have loved the last 3 books she's put out. I've not read any of the books she's written pre We Were Liars, but when I read We Were Liars, I absolutely loved it. I need to reread it, so I don't know if it still holds up. I really enjoyed Genuine Fraud. I didn't think it was as clever, which was annoying because like I saw what was gonna happen really early on in the book, and I was right. And then in 2020 she released Again, which is really different from her, I feel like, and I adored that book and I still think about it all the time. But apparently there's gonna be a prequel to We Were Liars. I think it's called Family of Liars, because there's the aunties, aren't there? I think it's about them. Things about them when they were younger going to the island. And I mean, people obviously have been like umming and ahhing, like, do we need a prequel? I wasn't expecting it. And I thought that We Were Liars was so strong and interesting that I kind of wanted it to be left alone, just like let it stand for itself. That being said, I did think it brought up a lot of really interesting themes, and I think they're themes that can be, like, we're not done interrogating them. I think they're very transferable. I'm definitely interested in it. This is one of the ones I'm more skeptical towards, just because I don't want to go with high hopes and have it be a bit of a flop. I don't even think the cover's been released, but it's definitely coming out this year. I want to say May? I feel like it began with an M. We'll see about that, I guess. And then we have like some random ones, I guess. First, I'll talk about the Alice 6 by Olivia Blake. I actually already own self-published version, but I wanted to wait until people who had read this had read the traditionally published version and to see what they thought, to see if they thought it was better and whatnot. From a couple of people's opinions that I've heard, I think it is better, so I think I'm gonna wait and read the traditionally published version. I wanted this because it was pretty, and if the published version wasn't as good, then I have this. And also, if I really love this series, then I wanted it for my collection. I mean, the other thing with the traditionally published version will be that this is going to be the first book in a series. All the other books in the series are going to relate back to that one, not this one. Some things might be different. It's kind of important to know that version of events. But I've heard nothing but amazing things. It's dark academia, like a friendship group, like I think it's also deadly. I think there's magic, I'm not sure. And people just love the characters, and apparently they're like all in relationships with each other. I feel like I heard that at one point. I'm very intrigued. And I also am gonna get the Waterstones exclusive edition, which is stunning. The pages are so beautiful. I'm getting it as a gift, and I'm really excited about that. Next is Electra by Jennifer Saint. I love the cover for this one. Time to admit to some things. I haven't actually read Ariadne yet. I own it, it's there, but I haven't read it yet. Like, I think Ariadne is a really interesting character. I think she deserves her own story, but I find Electra quite interesting, and I find just the whole Clytemnestra cycle, if you will, I really enjoy that story and those myths. I read Electra by Sophocles, and I've read Euripides' Orestes. I've yet to read Aeschylus's Oresteia. That's like next on my ancient books, TBR. I was supposed to read it last summer and I just kind of dropped the ball. So I think I'm gonna like Electra, and I'm very intrigued by Electra, but I'm not gonna let myself buy it, let alone read it, until I've read Ariadne. But I don't know if I'm gonna get around to it this year. And then lastly on this little list that I have written down here is a book by an author that I've never read any of their work before. I've heard a lot of their works before, and there's a lot of their works that I want to read, but I've just never gotten around to it, and that's Holly Black's new adult novel, Book of Night. I read the synopsis and I loved the synopsis. Hopefully I'll get around to reading that one this year, since the first book in the series is nice when you're on top of it and you read it relatively soon to when it comes out and it doesn't have to sit and make you feel bad. I think that's all of them. I think there was another one actually that was coming out relatively soon that I discovered a couple months ago that I completely forgot about. It has a gorgeous cover and the description sounds amazing. I'll put a picture to it on screen and you can go look into that for yourself. So let's talk about reading goals and the books that I want to read this year, not necessarily releases. Skullduggery Pleasant. I want to catch up with Skullduggery Pleasant. At the beginning of the year I had read none of the Skullduggery Pleasant books that take place past 9 chronologically. So I'd read Apocalypse Kings, which actually came out 2021, but it's set during phase 1. But other than that, I had read none of phase 2. Spoiler alert, I've now read the first 3, so my goal was to catch up with them. Not necessarily before the last one comes out, but so that I can read the last one relatively soon to when it comes out. Being that I have 2 books plus the grimoire to go, I think I'm gonna be alright. Next is a duology that's been weighing on my mind since the first book was released. I was so excited when I heard about it, and I've never read it. There are 2 books. It's just 2 books, and then I'm done. And that's Strange to Dream It by Laini Taylor. And I feel like I've talked about these books so many times, like saying about how I want to read them, and I haven't yet. The Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy, I have like multiple copies back here. No, I only have one set here, but I have another set up there, and I have another set over there. I own it 3 times. I love that trilogy. One of my favorite fantasy concepts. I think the writing's beautiful. I just love the trilogy. It's one of my favorites. And I haven't read the only other thing, well, it's not the only other thing she's published, but the other thing that she's published that's really well known for, and there's only 2 books. I've been meaning for years to read it. This is the year, mark my words, this is the year that I'm gonna read it. I own both of them. I own both of them twice because I got a special edition set from a box subscription service that I can't remember the name of right now. Like, Laini annotated them, and so they're her writings inside, and they're gorgeous editions. I also have Defy the Night on this list. I guess I marathoned the Cursebreakers trilogy and I really wanted to read Defy the Night, so I was kind of up to date with Bridget Kammerer. Again, spoiler alert, I read it, so I'm ahead of the game. And then we have another one that I feel really guilty about because I started reading it more or less when it came out, and I started it. I read like 50 pages and then I wasn't in the mood for it, or I wasn't in the mood for reading at all, and I put it down and I never went back to it. And that's Better Together by Christine Riccio. I enjoyed Again But Better. I really enjoyed it. I know it's gotten like mixed things because she's, you know, a known book person, but I genuinely enjoyed it. And so don't think I loved the first 50 pages. It felt overwritten. It felt like it could have been really condensed, but that's obviously not to say that the rest of the book is going to be like that. So I'm really hoping I finish it this year. That would be nice. Maybe in the summertime, you know, nice summery read. It's just been like on my currently reading section of Goodreads for a really long time now. Actually, in that vein, I didn't have this on my list, but I'm including it now. Fingersmith by Sarah Walters. One of my dogs chewed this up. I completely forgot. I was recommended to read this for research when I was doing my dissertation in my undergrad. That was nearly 2 years ago. Well, over 2 years ago probably that I've been recommended it. I started it nearly 2 years ago though. Well, actually it was when the pandemic happened, so it probably would have been March 2020. I feel like it was 100 pages. 90 pages in. I was enjoying those 90 pages, but then the pandemic happened and I started studying from home. And I wasn't going on the bus to uni anymore, and that's when I did my reading. So I just kind of stopped reading it. And I've continued to write that book, so this is still applicable to me in my research. When I was doing workshops for my master's degree, in which I was writing the book that I was continuing on from my dissertation in my undergrad, people compared my work to Sarah Walters, assumed that I knew who that was, and I've heard of her. There's apparently a few books of hers that I've been recommended over the years, and I haven't read any of her books. I've read 90 pages of this one. I really want to finish this year, because this has literally been on my currently reading on Goodreads for nearly 2 years now. So just at least make progress. We have two books that are very much within the same vein. I guess you could shove Ariadne in here too if you wanted to, so that I can get to Electra at some point, but these are a little bit more pressing there. And Ariadne, what is it? What is it? The first of which being Circe by Madeline Miller. I read The Song of Achilles November 2020, I think, and I loved it. Like, if I had to pick a favorite book, it would be The Song of Achilles, and I've heard nothing but amazing things about Circe. I have heard that people typically have a preference between the two. There's people that really love Circe and think like Song of Achilles is okay, and there's people that really love The Song of Achilles and think Circe is okay. I think that's one of the reasons why I didn't get to it. I had intentions of reading this last year and I kept putting it off. I think because I'm scared. Like, I'm scared, A, that I'll like it more than The Song of Achilles, because I love The Song of Achilles and I don't want to like The Song of Achilles any less, but also, what if I don't like it? So I'd like to be up to date, I'd like to be in the know, and because it's like the only other thing Madeline Miller's published, I feel kind of a disgrace. Somewhat similarly, A Thousand Ships by Natalie Haynes. I read The Children of Jocasta by her last year, as well as Pandora's Jars, and I absolutely loved both of them, and this is her other book that she's written that's set in antiquity times, and I've heard this is the best thing she's published. I've heard nothing but amazing things. The only reason I didn't read it last year is because I just didn't get around to it. I was fine, I just would like to read it relatively soon when I'm still in this Natalie Haynes high, I suppose. And then the last, this is less of like a book that I want to read, but like a reading goal, I suppose, is something that as time goes on, I'm convincing myself that this isn't going to happen and it's never going to happen. I can't tell if I want to do it or if I just feel pressured to do it. And that is catching up with Cassandra Clare. People who love Cassandra Clare love Cassandra Clare, and I follow a lot of people who love Cassandra Clare. The last thing by her that I read was City of Heavenly Fire. I am behind, my friends. And I read them in and around the time that City of Heavenly Fire came out. I remember pre-ordering it and like getting to start it nearly right away. I mean, it took me a really long time to read that book. Lady Midnight came out and I got it straight away, but I had not yet read Tales of Shadowhunter Academy, and I'd heard you have to read Tales of Shadowhunters Academy first. You'll miss these big things and you don't want to miss them. And when I tried reading Tales of Shadowhunter Academy, I struggled. Her writing style I struggle with anyway. It just feels really like, not that it's overly wordy, but it just feels really formal and kind of a little clunky. And I know that it's not, it's just that's the way that it feels to me. I read it quite slowly. Like I said, it took me 100 million years to read City of Heavenly Fire, and her books are massive. And I'm really behind. There's a whole trilogy, 3 compendiums of like short stories collections, although I don't think the Bane Chronicles is essential. I think it's just there, so I could theoretically just ditch that one, as well as the first 2 books in the Elder Scrolls, which I think I would find easier because they're somewhat shorter and it's just following Alec and Magnus, and I do like Alec and Magnus, as well as the first 2 books in the newest trilogy. And those are the ones that I want to read because those are the ones that we're following Tessa's kids, and I loved The Infernal Devices. Part of me is like, do I just skip it all, go straight to that one? Do I suck it up and try and like read them? Because that's what I want to do. That's what like my gut tells me to do. I'm the kind of person that likes to finish series. I don't like to kind of dip in and out. I just don't have the drive. Last year I wanted to catch up with Sarah J Maas, and I did. And so the goal was supposed to be that this year I catch up with Cassandra Clare. And I know I'm not actually going to be able to catch up fully, but you know, just get the ball rolling. And once I'm caught up, I can like focus on a different author's body of work that I want to read, like Brandon Sanderson. Say I really want to read a lot of his work. I don't know, we'll see by the end of the year, I guess, what I decide to do. Strange Dreamer, Circe, Better Together, and Sculpture Present, those are the ones that are like at the top of the list. Those are the ones that if I don't read them this year, I will be mad. Those are my reading plans for 2022. Are any of you as like crazy about this stuff as I am? Ultimately, my biggest goal is that I enjoy the books that I do read this year. As long as that happens, the rest of it doesn't matter so much. If you enjoyed this video, leaving a like, subscribing would be really helpful to my channel. I'm trying to build my channel because there's not much of one right now. Please let me know down below the books that you want to read this year. I'd love to chat about it. That is all I have for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing morning, afternoon, evening / night. My name's Jade. I hope I see you again next time. Goodbye!